Being the largest, and I'm not a guy who's
Point of order, because I want to make sure we.
Yeah, I'm a bit confused. I thought we were talking about a memorandum of understanding.
We are.
And now we're talking about a contract.
Right. And we're not.
I don't see these two things together. Can somebody clarify
Can we
that,
approve
please?
the
So I'll know which one we were talking about. Mr. President, can you shed any light on this?
My point of order was, have we approved the previous item?
Yes, we did.
I missed
I
it.
carried the motion on that.
Okay.
So maybe I can clear my question up.
But I'm going back now to the earlier statement of Mr. Clayton. Try to distinguish what we're talking about within this agreement, because I was hoping we could have the agreement explained to us.
Well,
Then
let
they
me,
may answer the question.
but let me go back to my first question, which was, tell me, are we bound by the four corners of this document, this memorandum of understanding? I was told yes. So whatever within the four corners of that document binds this university to a contract to whomever, or with whomever we're trying to enter it into it. I want to know who these people are. I mean, just bringing it before the board on the last board meeting without having us being able to roundtable it and discuss it, it's a major piece. And I think people ought to know. So if I'm going to vote on it and I'm going to bind the university on it, I want to know who they are. I want to know if they have any minority ownership in it. If so, who are they? If not, why not? And a plethora of other questions, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay, I want to be able to direct this now. I want some response from our attorney. You looked at that contract, and that was developed outside. I'm thinking about the memorandum of agreement between the system and the foundation.
That's correct.
That's not what he's talking about. So can you...
What kind of sort of, Mr. Chairman? Because then you have to tell me, what are we doing with the foundation? Somebody needs to tell me, so the foundation is in the middle of this?
That's why I said we put it on the agenda so that someone could explain the memorandum of understanding, so we'll know what we're talking about. Then those questions will be appropriate. If you would allow us now to get some presentation on that, I think it might clear some of it up.
I apologize.
I'm sorry. Mr. President, I was going to ask you to introduce this, since this is largely under your supervision. You want to tell us where we're going with this
Right.
now?
Right, and we were prepared to make a presentation or to give this board an overview or an update of where we are in terms of advancing our medical marijuana agenda, and then ask your approval of an MOU. And the MOU, simply put, is one between the university and the foundation, where we sought from the foundation funding that would enable us to hire some consultants. And so the MOU simply asks of the foundation to provide us with the requisite funding such that we could engage with some consultants who will provide us guidance in terms of determining the most appropriate financial model, and who would assist us in identifying the specifications that would enable us to advance an RFP. That's what the MOU is. It's simply one where we had sought from the foundation funding that would enable us subsequently to engage with some consultants to give us guidance as we move this agenda forward. Now, I think Dr. Fields is prepared to kind of give this board an overview of where we are, such that we could put that in context. And then we have asked Mr. Rutledge, Mr. Castillo, as representatives of the foundation, if they would be available to as well respond to any questions that this board may have.
Well, that question has an immediate follow-up from me, if my chairman would allow me to. That statement from you. And that is, so this memo gives the authority that the state legislature has given to us to now give to the foundation to enter into this agreement for in lieu of whatever money they're giving us. So is the foundation sharing some of the revenue from this, and if so, how much, and why? And let me know I want to know what the foundation's involvement is, and how much they're going to give us, and what are we giving them in return?
That's why we've invited the foundation president and attorney here to explain that. And I see Mr. Rutledge in the audience and Mr. Castillo, and if you would take a moment to explain to this body. The essence of that MOU is address the questions that he raises. We'd like to have.
And Mr. Chair, the sentiment that I'm feeling is as if I'm raising a question on a motion and for me to give y'all the opportunity. Let's go back 10 minutes ago. It was put in an global form to be voted on, and no one would have asked any questions about it. So that's why, if I'm going to be the bad guy on it, I'm going to be the bad guy on it. I want to know, what in the world are we doing, and why are we giving this to the foundation, and what are we getting from it?
And that's why we've asked the foundation to
Okay.
explain it. So, Mr. Rutledge, would you please explain to
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I'll be very happy to respond. Mr. Clayton, you're not giving the foundation anything, all right? Let's get that first. Let's get that established first and foremost. Secondly, the foundation has sought to operate almost in an indistinguishable fashion as it relates to our support of the Southern University system as a whole. We serve as a resource to the university. The president of the system wrote a letter to me asking us to assist the university with the implementation of this. Because quite frankly, if you had read the backup, you would have a better appreciation for the challenges that the university proper has in undertaking this on its own. So, in response to his request, the foundation identified resources to provide to the university to engage a company that Dr. Fields has selected as a consequence of the due diligence that they undertook, that we put up the money. What you have before you is not a contract with MPG. It's not a contract with a provider. It's not a contract with anybody. It is a memorandum of understanding between this board and the foundation that says, okay, foundation, you're going to put up $54,000 for us to go and engage MPG. And any resources that we realize as a result of individuals responding to the proposal, to which there will be a fee attached, the foundation gets its $54,000 back. Proceeding from that is the development of a contract and the identification of a provider that will come back to this board to say yes or no. And it's a very open, transparent process that is going to be implemented going forward based on the guidance that's provided to us and you, quite frankly, from MPG. Now, at the end of the day, if you all say, foundation, keep your $54,000, we've got our own money, we're going to hire our own consultant to come in here and give us guidance, God bless you and strength on your journey.
And from that, that's why I think we ought to have a motion where we do it on our own. And it's because of Exhibit A, what we just heard is part of the reason why I think we should put and look into this more. I mean, it sounds eloquent, it sounds great, but I need to see why in the world, for $54,000, are we abdicating our responsibilities or our duties to the foundation?
Mr. Chairman, may I respond to that?
Yes, you mean, and I will have.
But, Mr. Chairman, I'm not here to engage somebody from the audience. I'm talking to the board. I really would respect that my answers are dealt with from the president as opposed to getting into it with somebody from the audience. I'm not going to do that.
Sure, but we engaged his response, and the response.
And I've heard
And the response deserves, well, you've been the only person, that others who want to speak to that, and I've recognized other
I
hands.
think the board is.
But I also want to say something about it, to back up for a second. You'll recall that when we engaged ourselves in the business of this project, I initially appointed a committee and named a chair and a vice chair. The chair was Dr. Whitfield, and the vice chair was Mr. Rutledge. We were later advised that perhaps the most appropriate way to do this was to allow the president of the university to take the leadership in pursuing this. So at that point, that committee never came into being, it never met, and in fact, what it did was to kind of just blend itself into an initiative by the president. So the president began calling meetings and invited those two principals I just mentioned, and his on staff, as well as the staff of the agricultural unit, to explore this. So this MOU piece is an outgrowth of their exploration. As I appreciated, when I read this document, I saw something very different than what I heard you say. When I read the document, in my own simplistic way, it appeared to me that what we were simply doing was asking the foundation for some assistance, not to use state funds or not to use any of our money to get involved in this question, in this project. So they approached the foundation, said, look, we really need to explore to see what companies out here are interested in getting involved in this project. And the only way to do that from a transparency standpoint was to have an open bid or open RFP. So the purpose of this contract, of this MOU, was to engage some professional assistance in the design of an RFP that would go out for bid, and so any company in the country so qualified could then bid to participate. Now, the money they're putting up was simply, as he said, is going to be retrieved out of a fee that was going to be charged to the people who were going to apply. So no state money, again, was involved. There's a real technical question here about how far we can go in the expenditure of state funds in support of this project, as other states have done this pretty much the same way. We've tried to learn a few things from what other states have done. We've had people travel to other states to see precisely how they've managed these projects in the past. It's somewhat along these lines. So it was no more that. So this was not about hiring somebody to do anything other than develop an RFP, help set up a process so the company is so qualified would be able to participate. Anybody want to add any more to that? Yes, sir.
Relationship with how we do, is this similar to the Bayou Classic per se? So
Yes, sir.
we have done this in the past, and we're using somewhat of the same model moving forward in this, if I'm correct in asking?
I'm sorry.
Is it a similar model based on what we've done in the past?
Yes, sir, Mr. Fondell, but I want to impress upon you very gently. You're not abrogating anything.
Yeah.
You're not giving up control of anything.
Yes.
Yeah, the only thing that this memo does is say, Foundation, we have an understanding that you're going to put up the money to get us some expertise, to give us guidance on how to do this.
And we make the final decision.
You make the final
So
decision.
you're just researching it for us with his assistance without having to use any public money.
Exactly.
And we'll bring back to us whatever's been reported upon, and we'll have a chance to go through whatever contract with our company attorney.
Exactly.
And make a decision on that.
You
So
will be the
it's not that
ultimate
we're doing a contract, we're just giving them the permission to go and act on our.
Mr. Fondell, would you like for me to read you?
It's in here, it's on page, for those of you that are following, it's on page 57, 58, and 59 in the packets that we have in front of us.
So, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, Article 1 of this memorandum states that on behalf of the board and Southern Ag Center, the foundation agrees to expend the resources necessary in its sole discretion to engage a consultant to assist with the implementation of the provision of this deal, including but not limited to develop an appropriate legal structure to manage the operation of the medical production. That's our job. To create a master list and detailed description of functions required for the production and sale of medical marijuana. That's your job as a board member. To assist with the preparation and request for a proposal designed to identify as the entity or entities most qualified. I don't know why we need them to do that. Dr. Fields is highly capable. But it goes on to say this in Article 2. To the extent allowed by law, the parties agree to treat confidentially all affiliates, agents. So this is between the foundation and whoever they work this deal out with. Any of the business and transaction contemplated herein, and information provided or disclosed by either party pursuant to this MOU. Lastly, the above limitations on use and disclosure shall not apply to information which was known by the receiving party. In Article 3, all fees generated through the RFP shall, that's the shall, S-H-L, be held and managed by the foundation. And some of it, and
exactly
used
right.
to reimburse foundation for funds and resources and expended to assist the board. The disbursement of any of the remaining funds shall be mutually agreed upon. You are completely giving up your duties as a board to go out there and this Ag Center, to give it to the foundation, and any fees or anything generated from it, they keep it, we'll give them back their money, and they would mutually agree with us what to do with the rest of the funds.
Yeah.
That's the part that the gentleman at the microphone didn't necessarily tell you about.
My name is DeMoine Rutledge. But let me respond, Mr.
Excuse me,
Chairman.
gentlemen, please.
This-
Excuse me,
I'm sorry.
Mr. Rutledge. Excuse me. Let's kind of put this back in perspective. Have you finished, Mr. Clayton? Is there anything else you want to add?
Yes, I just
that?
want to end with
And I'm
this.
saying it because there are others who also want to speak.
And then I'll be done. Here's what I want to end with. This is put on the agenda, Mr. President, and it's put in this form and is done in global motion. And there are fine details to it that we ought to know what's going to go on, where the money's going to go, why the foundation. I don't have a problem with the foundation, but if it's set up the same way the Bayou Classic is, I'm adamantly opposed to it. And lastly, put it up for a vote. We'll vote it up and down. Let's put it on. I'll record my record on it. I just don't think it's in, it's legislature has given us the authority to do it.
Yeah.
They didn't give it to the foundation. You're taking your responsibility and you're giving it to them. And in confidentiality, they don't have a right to tell you anything. Trust me, it's going to come back in your face when you ask who has the contract, why did they get it, what's going on, did you get this facility up here adjusted, all kind of questions. But if y'all want to do that as a board and give it to them, give it to them.
Okay. Yes, Reverend.
That's an MOU or contract. That's my question.
That's a contract I just read to you. You call it what you want.
No, I'm just, maybe
It's
You've asked for Winston to review this.
The agreement is an MOU. In Article 6, it specifically says, in the event the parties hereto make the determination after working with the consultant that it will be in the board and the foundation's interest to enter into an agreement, the MOU contemplates that after the consultant does its work, the foundation and the board have to then decide, is it in their best interest to enter an agreement for the production of marijuana? This MOU is not that agreement for the production.
Exactly.
Yes,